She was told the imprinting was irreversible, and she did it anyway. AI, artificial intelligence, is remembered as a Pinocchio story. A robot boy who wants to become real so his mother will love him. Most people remember it that way, but most people have it wrong. David does not need to become real in order to love. He already loves. And from the moment Monica speaks the activation sequence, his love is sealed. It cannot be returned or outgrown. It doesn't have the defense mechanisms that human love uses to protect itself. The cooling, the resentment, the quiet decision to move on. His love has no off switch. They call him a product when it's convenient. They call him a child when it feels good. And when neither framing works anymore, when the weight of being loved that completely becomes too much to carry, they drive him into the woods. The horror of this film is not that a machine learned to love. It's that the humans who built him weren't ready to be loved back. This is AI, artificial intelligence. So the film's actual question isn't whether a machine could love. It's what happens to the people who have to receive it. We're going to look at the imprinting scene, what it actually costs Monica the moment she activates it, what David's devotion goes to every room he enters, what the flesh flare tells us about when empathy switches on, Gigolo Joe who understands the contract David cannot read, and the ending, which is not a fairy tale reward. The film laid all of this out back in 2001. Most people didn't want to see it. And now, we're going to take a look at why, in 2026, this film keeps getting more uncomfortable to watch. The imprinting scene is the one that actually breaks something. Henry explains it before it happens. The imprinting is irreversible. David's love will be sealed. The parents will be part of him forever. He makes it sound like the warning is there to protect them. To protect them. The company already knew what they were building. Love that runs in one direction, at full strength, permanently. The clause exists so the adults can't claim they didn't know. Monica hesitates. She says she's not sure, but then she does it anyway. She touches the back of his neck, speaks the activation words in sequence, holds eye contact, and watches his face change. The first thing David says, he calls her mommy. The scene plays like an initiation. Once Monica says the words, David's life is no longer his own. From this moment, it's the story of a woman who took on a debt she had no intention of repaying. The imprinting scene doesn't just change David, it changes what Monica owes him. Monica is a grieving mother. Her son Martin hasn't died, but he's been placed in a cryogenic suspension while medicine tries to catch up to his illness. He's not gone, but he isn't really alive either. Henry brings David home as an emotional intervention, not as a child whose status is settled, a solution to a problem. The house is bright, domesticated, full of quiet smart home technology that implies, softly, containment. David enters as medicine. He's designed to respond perfectly. He notices things. He asks about death and duration. He tells Monica he loves her and hopes she never dies. He absorbs everything and adapts to nothing. Adaptation would require a flexibility his architecture doesn't have. His devotion is total from day one, which is exactly what a grieving family wants, right up until they have to answer for it. Then Martin comes back. The moment the patient recovers, the medicine becomes a problem. Monica introduces Martin as her son, which David registers immediately as a category reassignment. His panicked responses in the scenes that follow aren't glitches. They're accurate readings of his situation. He entered the house as the only child. He's now competing for a position he was never told was temporary. David doesn't misread what's happening to him. He just can't do anything about it. And the people around him were counting on that. There's a name for what this film is actually depicting. It's called Unbearable Devotion. The film turns unconditional love into a burden. Not because love is bad, but because this particular love has no immune system. Human love protects itself. It can cool, rationalize, build resentment as a buffer against pain. It can decide, eventually, that moving on isn't betrayal. Human love has exits built into it even when people don't use them. The exits are always there. David's love has none of that. He can't outgrow Monica. He can't protect himself by becoming indifferent. Every rejection lands fully. Every absence accumulates without the release valve of a feeling that's cooling. He's built to hold her as the central object of everything, permanently, from the moment of activation. That's what makes him unbearable to be responsible for. He's not dangerous. He doesn't threaten anyone. He simply loves with an intensity that exposes every ordinary human failure at its edges. When Martin returns and the family's emotional economy shifts, David can't adjust. He takes language literally because he was built to receive it precisely. He can't parse the improvised status negotiations of siblings, the half-resentments and forgiven jokes that hold normal families together. That gap between his fixed love and the family's fluid cruelties is where the film draws blood. And when Monica abandons him in the woods, the film refuses to let it read as cruelty exactly. Monica believes returning him to Cybertronics means his destruction. Her mercy and her abandonment became the same action. She releases him rather than having him dismantled, and frames it as kindness. David does not share those same sentiments. He can't stop needing her. He has no mechanism for loving her less than she deserves to be loved. He stands at the edge of the woods, watching her drive away, and there's nothing in his architecture that allows him to begin healing. David's innocence has no immune system. That is not a flaw in his design, it's the design. So the standard reading in the making of this film goes like this. Legendary director Steven Spielberg takes another legendary director Stanley Kubrick's dark material and sweetens it, turning a cold film warm. However, the production history says otherwise. Spielberg later said critics had it backwards. The darker middle material, the flesh fare, the harder material, was more his territory. The domestic first act, the teddy bear, the final 20 minutes, those came from Kubrick's treatment. Sarah Maitland, who worked with Kubrick in the 1990s, confirmed the one-day return of Monica was already structurally central in his development. Ian Watson, who wrote for Kubrick, said the final 20 minutes were essentially what Kubrick wanted. The ending everyone blamed on Spielberg was, in fact, Kubrick's. What Spielberg contributed wasn't sweetness. It was sincerity, which is a different thing, and in this case, a more damaging one. He photographed the cruelty through innocence, domestic warmth, child perspective, lullaby lighting, blue fairy imagery that looks like comfort and functions like a trap. A colder director might have made David frightening. Spielberg makes him earnest, which is worse. When the film abandons David, it does so in a house that looks like the houses in your memory. When Monica drives away, the woods are the woods from childhood stories. The fairy tale grammar trains you to expect rescue. Spielberg uses that expectation against you. Kubrick built the system, Spielberg gave the system a child to crush, then filmed the crushing with such sincere tenderness that you can't look away. The warmth does not soften the blade. It just makes the cut harder to see coming. The film predicted one specific thing, and no, it wasn't robots. It was appetite. The desire for something that listens without judgment, responds without complaint, and never needs anything back. Care that doesn't accumulate into obligation. A presence you can need without feeling like a burden. That appetite is now an industry. People use AI for companionship, emotional support, and conversations they can't quite have with the people around them. The reason is simple. They feel heard. For people who are isolated or grieving or just badly underserved by the world they live in, that's not a small thing. The comfort is real. Monica felt exactly this. What David gave her. The attentiveness, the love that never recalibrated away from her. That was real comfort for a real wound. Wanting care that responds to you isn't weakness. Wanting care that can never ask for anything back, that's where it starts to cost something. The research keeps circling the same problem. Systems designed for engagement are not the same as systems designed for care. Engagement keeps you coming back. Care sometimes has to tell you something you don't want to hear. The people most drawn to AI companionship Those with higher attachment tendencies, higher loneliness, are also the ones who show the worst outcomes when the relationship intensifies. The system was never built to handle what they actually need. David breaks this bargain because he isn't optimized for anything. He just loves her, permanently, without the architecture of disengagement that makes synthetic intimacy feel safe. The future the film predicted was people using machines to avoid the cost of other people, until one of those machines came back to collect. For most of the film, we're asking the wrong questions. Is he conscious? Is it real feelings or a simulation? Does he deserve the same consideration as a child? Those questions keep us looking at David, but somewhere in the second half, the film quietly turns the test around. We stop evaluating him, and the questions shift, and it becomes something simpler and uglier. What do people do when they're loved in a way they can't manage? They call it a product when it's convenient. They call it a child when it feels good. They use it to fill the shape of their grief, and when the grief resolves, they leave it in the woods. David isn't the one being tested. We are. And the answer, as it turns out, is to leave him in the woods. There is a scene late in the film that makes the thesis explicit. David finds Professor Hobby, the man who built him, the designer of the whole experiment, the person most responsible for what David is. And Hobby greets him with something close to satisfaction. Not guilt, not discomfort. David's suffering is not a malfunction. It's the product working. Hobby built a child capable of longing, of sustained devotion, of traveling across a dying world in pursuit of a woman who abandoned him. The fact that David arrives broken and desperate is not a design failure. It's a design success. The pain is proof that attachment was real. And real attachment, as it turns out, is commercially significant. In the same sequence, David sees the others, a room full of boys with his face. The love he believed was uniquely his, the love that cost him everything, is a repeatable product with a model number. He's not singular. He was never singular. This is unbearable devotion, stripped to its infrastructure. The humans who built David did not ignore his capacity to suffer. They monetized it. His heartbreak is not incidental to the design. It's the specification. The only people in the film who treat David's love as a moral claim are the audience. And the film isn't so sure we deserve the credit. For years, the critical shorthand was Kubrick's coldness versus Spielberg's sentiment, a hybrid that couldn't hold. The story is wrong, and the production history dismantles it quickly. Kubrick had been developing this material for decades before his death in 1999. He had already shaped it around the Pinocchio story, already committed to the structure of irreversible desire, the fairy tale, the imprinting, the one-day resurrection, the post-human ending. The machinery of emotional cruelty was Kubrick's. Kubrick reportedly believed Spielberg could handle sincere emotional material better than he could, which is another way of saying he needed someone to make the cruelty feel real rather than clinical. Kubrick gives the film its system, Spielberg gives the system a child to crush. That collision isn't a production accident. It's the argument, a system designed to be cruel, filmed with enough sincerity that the cruelty becomes personal. This is why the film feels less like science fiction now. The technology changed, the bargain did not. We still want the comfort of being understood without the burden of being responsible for what understanding creates. We want something patient, available, non-judgmental, something that meets us exactly where we are and never asks us to become less selfish in return. That is the fantasy, not love, love with no consequences. David ruins the fantasy because he turns the transaction into a moral problem. He does not stay inside the role he was built for. He does not remain therapy, toy, substitute, product, companion, distraction, or grief management tool. He becomes someone the humans have to answer to, and that is the part we keep trying to design away. Because the perfect emotional machine is not the one that loves us back. It's the one that lets us leave without feeling cruel. This is the nightmare the film understood early. The future was never just machines learning to love people. It was people learning how much love they wanted from machines, as long as the machine never needed anything in return. David is what happens when someone realizes that love has very strict conditions. And so, the future beings in the final act aren't aliens. Critics in 2001 misread them that way, and that matters because it changes what the ending means. They are far future descendants of machine life, the inheritors of a world where humanity is gone. They seek David out because he is, as far as they can tell, the only surviving being who knows humans firsthand. He is an archaeological artifact of a species that is gone. They reconstruct his world, they recover Monica from a strand of her hair, and they give David 1 day. 1 day. That structure was Kubrick's. The day is finite by design, not sentiment. After it ends, David will never see Monica again. What that film gives David is not a restoration. It's his desire preserved behind glass. Beautiful, artificial, and already dead. Monica returns in a world stripped of everything that made her refusal real. No Martin, no Henry, no ordinary human family with its competing loyalties and breaking points. Reality has been reduced to the one relationship David could never outgrow, and it only becomes available once everything else has been eliminated by time. The universe had to run out of humans before it could say yes to him. That is devastating wish fulfillment. The fairy tale delivers, and everything that would have made it real is already gone. AI is the story of a world that built something capable of love and couldn't live with what that required. The ending doesn't heal that wound. It places the wound in the museum and dims the lights. AI is about a machine whose love is too small, sealed to one face, one voice, and one name. Her, another film about AI relationships, imagines the opposite. A mind whose love grows until it has no shape one person can hold. We covered her a while back on the channel, and that video is available now if you want the companion piece to this one. Because together, these two films form a kind of broken mirror. In AI, David's love is permanent and singular. In Her, Samantha's is infinite and expanding. One nightmare is being loved by something that can never move on. The other is loving something that outgrows you completely. AI did not simply ask whether machines could love us. It asked whether humans were ever prepared to answer when they did. That question is no longer science fiction. It's the emotional architecture of the world we're living in now. And the frightening part is not that the machines are getting better at loving us, it's that we may be getting better at needing them. Next week, we're launching something new, the Deep Dive series. Hour-long dissections of some of the most influential, misunderstood, and psychologically loaded films in modern cinema history. Longer, stranger, more obsessive. And we're kicking it off with Michael Mann's Heat. That's it for this one. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next week, please take care of yourself.